Change, change, change! Good morning, everyone, once again. Welcome back to Taraki TV, and this is the 25 Centavo Change Podcast. This is another episode kung saan pag-uusapan natin ang konsepto ng change. Once again, let me introduce myself. Ako po si MJ, Mars MJ. Kilala niyo po ako sa Taraki Campus. And now we're doing a special episode of the 25 Centavo Change Podcast. In here, once again, kagaya ng previous episodes natin, we've talked about the power of change. Now, ang pag-uusapan naman natin at iisa-isahin natin ay ang konsepto ng pagbabago or konsepto ng change. Pagbabago nga lang ba ang ibig sabihin nito? O meron pang ibig sabihin na hindi natin minsan napapansin? Concept of change, first off, let's start with turning hate into love. In the book that I wrote, The Things I Hated But Love to Share is a part wherein I discussed the things na hindi ko gusto or ayaw ko, pero ngayon gusto ko na siyang pag-usapan kasi mahalaga pala. Therefore, there's a transition of realization na yung bagay na to na pinaka-iiwas-iwasan natin minsan na pag-usapan ay isang bagay na napakahalaga pala. Especially when we have hate and we want to feel loved instead. So what are these? Allow me to read a part doon sa libro. Many times, a daughter's heart longs for her mother. The warm hugs and kisses, her dulcet tone, her wit and sarcasm, her powerful sermons, unsolicited love advice, and the ideal she conveyed. Lately, lagi kong napapanood, shout out sa mga vloggers na laging nag-i-skate at napapanood yung how an ignorant mother is, kung paano daw magdisiplina ang isang nanay. And I hated that with my mom kasi she is very strict. When we're talking about strict, kung ano yung mga nakikita ninyo, napapanood ninyo, she also is sa amin bilang magkakapatid, especially to me. I also felt how strict she was, especially when we were growing up. Siyempre, nung bata-bata kami, the situation here or the context here in the Cordillera o nandito yung ayan tayo, in Benguet per se, as an agricultural community, syempre maibat-bati tayo niya. They go to the farm, they go to the garden, and tayo nasa bahay tayo, or we go to school. So ganun yung konsepto noon, just to give a situationnaire doon sa mga nakikinig sa ating mga viewers and listeners. So apart from that, growing up, kung hindi ka part ng nagtatrabaho sa garden, syempre nasa school ka. And parents are so tired all day under the sun, kaya pag uwi nila, talagang napaka-stricto nila. Unang-una, kailangan malinis ang bahay. Syempre, pag nakauwi ka na, nahugasan ang pinggan. Nalinisan na rin yung mga nawalisan, kung ano yung dapat walisan, naayos yung mga sinampay, and all those things. As a mom would often work sa bahay kasi nga, galing pang trabaho, and then uuwi, magluluto, and all those things. So, why am I saying these things? Doon sa mga kagaya ko na napagdaanan ninyo in your younger years, having a strict mom, or yung nanay ninyo ay stricto, una sa lahat may mga rules siya. I bet, at some point din, meron tayong rebellious side, right? However, ang hirap maging rebellious sa age na sabihin na nating, kami mga millennials. Paano ka naman magiging rebellious doon sa part na yun kung mas stricto pa yung nanay mo at alam nyo yung lahat ng galawan mo? Well, in my case, as a girlish, kasi dati hindi tayo masyadong pag-girl, when we were younger. In my case, if I remember it right, meron kaming 8 rules behind the doors. So, hindi ko alam kung matatandaan ko pa yung 8 rules. But here are some of the rules. As a parent, my mom would always tell us, when you go out with friends, I should know their number, I should know their names, I should know the people you're you're going out with. If you're going to a party, you have to make sure that you have to make sure na hindi ka umiinom ng open from kapag bukas na, in case na uminom ka. Hindi naman niya pinagbabawal na huwag kang uminom or something. That's not the kind of strictness. At the same time, sabi nga nila, our mom was our friend. And yeah, barkada talaga yung pakiramdam na may nanay ka na, may barkada ka ba. So, open sa kanya yon, even if, of course, hindi naman sa minor, no? Kapag allowed ka to go out with friends, you have to know the rules, the limits, and such. And those things in the past, I hated it na kailangang lahat, kasi pag nakikita mo yung mga kaibigan mo, okay lang sa kanila, walang rules, walang bawal, walang oras, walang curfew, and they're given this certain allowances, and ikaw wala. So you tend to compare. I think even now, even this generation, meron pa rin tayong mga nararamdaman, no? Yung mga kabataan natin dyan, nararamdaman niyo pa rin yon. During those times, we may think na, ano ba naman yan? Ang hirap-hirap. Bakit si ganito? Bakit yung kaibigan ko ganito? And that's the time wherein we think yung rebellious side natin, minsan naisip natin, ganito na lang gawin ko. Huwag ko na lang gawin kung ano yung sinasabi niya. And all those things. But then, time will come that you will realize as you grow up, may mga dahilan kung bakit ganun yung mga magulang natin. Why they set a lot of rules. And when you grow up, you would realize, baka mas stricto ka pa pala kaysa sa magulang mo. But then my mom would always tell us before that being a parent is a continuous learning. She said, there is no manual given to parents para palakihin yung kanilang mga anak. And there's no perfect way of doing such. Hindi pwedeng yung akin lang yung tama or yung isang parent lang yung tama. Having said that, kasi ito yung isa sa mga bagay na ayaw ko noon sa nanay ko. And we end up arguing all the time. However, yung argument naman namin was healthy. It would always end up like a court or a debate argument. Ganyan. So, parang thinking right now, napakapalaban ko pala dati. And then I was thinking, ganun ko ipaglaban kung ano yung sa tingin ko ay tama sa nanay ko. But the opposite of that is, when we go out, minsan, hindi natin kayang i-voice out, or ako mismo, hindi ko ma-voice out kung ano yung gusto kong sabihin, or if gusto kong, ayaw ko yung bagay na to, ayaw ko yung ganito, minsan hindi ko siya na-voice out, and that's the very opposite of that. When I was growing up, akala ko, mali daw, sasagutin mo yung ganyan. But according to my mom, it's better that we respond. That's the parenting that we grow up with. We respond o sasagot kami in a way because she would know how we think. And she would gauge kung paano niya kami kausapin or how she would actually communicate with us. Ikaw, baka marami ka ding hate or ayaw na ayaw mo, pero ngayon gusto mo na siyang i-share. It's because there are lessons. There is a certain change in your heart and even in your perspective and in your mindset. Maraming nabago sa akala mo dati na ito yung tama. Pero ngayon, tsaka mo na lang nalaman, hindi pala. In that concept of knowing the things that you hated and now that you love, when you go into a relationship and then you finally learn to see the things that you don't like, you finally see yung mga bagay na you know that you deserve, that it's not that because you hate that thing on sa isang tao or yung tao mismo yung hate mo. It's just that you now have that kind of discernment na alam mo kung ano yung deserve mo. You will learn to see kung ano din yung bagay na kaya mong mahalin at kaya mong intindihin when you are in a relationship. Even with friends, if you have encountered betrayals, if you have experienced betrayals from friends, siguro, let's say, ano ba yung mga klase ng betrayal? medyo malalim at medyo madibdibang usapan din when we're talking about betrayals. When you are a friend and minsan you consider this friend as a part of your family, or bigay mo siguro lahat ng support and you trust the person, and then suddenly you were betrayed. That's a certain feeling of, there is a certain feeling of hatred or anger na mararamdaman mo. And how are we going to turn this hate or anger into love? Hindi siya madali. I'm not here to preach. I'm not here to say there are steps on doing that. However, based on experience, when we hate something, there is this realization that it is reflecting a character in us, or an attitude or character or behavior din natin. It tends to become a reflection, just like our topic last time in one of the meeting that I attended. We're talking about reinvigorating ourselves kasi pagod na tayo from all this hatred, from all this anger. And nowadays, sa digital platform, yung friendship or relationship has developed into a certain level na, of course, digital na rin. So, some, if not all, ang gauge nila for having friends or being in a relationship is kung gaano kadami yung likes, hearts, and follows ng kanilang mga posts. They tend to equate na kung konti lang yung followers or konti lang yung kanilang likes and reactions, there are no people or walang nagmamahal siguro sa kanila. It is quite difficult for us who grew up in a non-digital or hindi pa masyadong computerized at wala pa masyadong SOCMED, dahil nga wala na nag-end ang Friendster, and when we start with Facebook, hindi siya ganun ka sobrang hindi kami ganun kasobrang engage or indulge into the social medias as when we compare to the generation right now. So in saying so, kaya pa natin na sabihin, oh, those are just likes, oh, those are just this. Pero subukan nating intindihin kung ano ba yung meron sa platform or sa SOCMED ngayon. Angkla pa rin natin yan sa konsepto ng pagbabago o sa konsepto ng change. Dalawang bagay ang change. That is, according to my concept, okay? Ang change ay pagbabago o transformation, at yung isa ay yung sinasabi nating barya. So, this is the change when you pay, or you pay more than the amount, you have a change. So, sa parehong konsepto na ito, makikita natin in our daily life kung ano, saan at anong halaga ng parehong change na ito. Change, transformation, yung ability natin to adapt sa kung ano man yung mga pagbabago daily sa buhay natin. Okay, traffic, paano ka mag-a-adjust? Kulang yung change mo, sasabihin mo ba kay manang driver? Kulang yung barya mo, sasabihin mo ba kay manang driver? Or hahayaan mo na lang? If we are going to analyze, isa-isahin natin yung lesson from first, transformation, second, yung barya, marami tayong mapipiga araw-araw. And this is what this podcast is all about. Here at Taraki TV, and this 25 Centavo Change Podcast, we would love to ascertain na meron tayong mga bagay-bagay na minsan hindi natin napapansin kasi parang simple lang naman yan, maliit lang naman na bagay yan. Pero yun pala, marami tayong matututunan. Isa pang konsepto ng change, You see? Gaining from loss. Gaining, okay, sige. I think I'm the right person to talk about gain. Kasi, gain in wealth, gain in health. Okay? Gaining from loss. So, aside from the pain and the grief and the sorrow, sorry to tell that for those who have encountered loss, there is no timeline or wala pong tinatawag na due date or kung hanggang kailan mo mararamdaman yung pain, yung grief o yung sorrow. Sorry to say na kahit ang dami-dami ngayon yung mga grief workshop and all, none among them would say hanggang ganito lang yung cycle. Pagkatapos nito ganyan-ganyan. I even realized from experience of losing our mom that hindi dahil merong tinatawag na cycle of grief or cycle of pain ay pagdadaanan mo lahat yon, or hindi kailangang step by step na anger, bargaining and all. Meron ding pagkakataon na hindi ka muna galit, parang at a lost ka and all those things, or mauuna din yung parang pakiramdam mo okay ka na. However, I'm not saying and I'm not debunking na hindi to nakakatulong. What I'm saying is, ang sitwasyon ng bawat isa who experience loss ay iba-iba. Hence, ang design ng ating libro or pagkakasulat ng ating 25 Centavo Change is not imposing that this is what you're supposed to do to gain from loss. In my case, as I was going through the bookshop, or the book writing workshop, shortcut, the book writing shortcut, it's where I realized that I think people who experience loss would want to hear how to overcome the pain, the grief, and the sorrow. How to let go of the thought ng loss, how to let go of the pain, kung gaano kasakit na nawalan ka, na namatayan ka, paano ka mag-let go? And isang usapin ito na ng pagbabago o konsepto ng change na mahirap pag-usapan ng ganun-ganon na lang. However, what I am here for in the concept of gaining from loss is to look at it as an opportunity to be strong and to gain people support, gain new friends, gain new family. Because this in acknowledging na hindi ka nag-iisa na nakakaranas ng ganitong sakit, na nakakaranas ng pagkawala ng mahal sa buhay, you will soon realize na this stage of your life ay nangyari. It's because you are being prepared for something bigger, something greater. Well, it's not always the case, but allow me to make a shout out to the feasts, to Baguio Fests, morning to morning group here in Baguio. Kasi I was able to join some of their workshops, and from there I was able to join some of their meetings even through Zoom, and from there I was able to find a support, and from there I was able to find yung pakiramdam na hindi ka nag-iisa. It's because you're not the only one who've experienced certain loss. Maraming kwento na mararamdaman mo yung presensya ng taong yun. I've always felt the presence of my mom in the people that I meet, and that's important. if you're going to identify your gain from every loss. But of course, financially speaking, ibang usapan na yon. We really have to be critical and we really have to go technical when it comes to gain, di ba? When it comes to income, yung ROI natin na ganyan. So, ibang usapan naman na yon. It needs a lot of analysis and financial analysis and other factors. But, we can actually, what one of my professor used to say, we can actually use these frameworks, these theories and principles that we studied in our actual life. So, for intellectuals that I know, just like me, na hindi tayo kadalasan emotionally intelligent, so yes, hindi mataas ang emotional quotient ko, but if we're going to use yung mga principles and frameworks na to that we learn in at school, sa academe and other books, and we try to frame that in our life, there and then marirealize natin that we can actually use this to manage our emotions as well. Pwede nating i-manage yung ating emotions using these principles. So I think I heard this from Jonathan Yabot when he said that motivation, yun, di ba? Yung motivation din natin ay kagaya din ng kung paano tayo mag-invest using money. And that's when we learn to gain from our losses. So you already learned from that. You learned from that. The next time around, you know what to do and how to handle things in your life. So, kunwari, naranasan mo ng nawalan, naranasan mo ng mag-bankrupt, diba? Mga ganyan. You know what to do the next time around. And another concept of change. Of course, this is it. The myth of tonight, it's today pala. It's morning. So, ito yon. Ito yung gustong-gusto kong pag-usapan. The 25 Centavo Change. Ano nga ba ito? When somebody bought my book, she told me, okay, this is a management book, and are we talking about economics here? Are we talking about money and all those things? And I said, oh, I'm sorry to disappoint you, but the equivalent of money, or the other, kumbaga, yung the other face of money, or the other face of treasure and wealth, ang pinag-uusapan natin when we talk about the 25 Centavo Change. Well, in this concept, siguro, isa man sa inyo, naranasan na rin ninyo yung sumakay sa jeepney, di ba? Tapos, siguro, wala kang 25, awanti balkag mo, awanti binting mo inya, nagkurang. Or, di na pang ka naggatang kat, kanya diin pariyada. Candy, kasi awang ka nung ti bariyada, awan ti change na, because they don't have 25 centavo change, or they don't have 50 centavos. What this 25 centavo coin has, para aralin natin kung ano yung meron dun sa balkag, 25 cents. Our grandparents used to say, uray balkag laang dayta, uray 10 centimos laang dayta, kat importante dayta. That's actually where this is coined from. I always would hear elders in the community who would say, uray no binting laang kat importante dayta. Ay haan nga mabuo ti piso no awan ti binting. And other things. This 25 centavos is very important. In this story that I shared in this book, the 25 centavos was the change from the grocery that I thought it was okay for me to keep, to save. Hindi ko siya ibinalik sa nanay ko. But then, my mom told me, uray no binting ang gaysa. Inkan ka na right? Uray no binting ang gaysa. Nabanur sa adikan, the right word that she said, ay isukat mo di Ay, isukat mo dit talok ko, si Binting Angay. It is really meaningful. But she was talking about integrity. She was talking about honesty. That even if it's just 10 cents, 25 cents, no matter the amount, I have to return the 25 centavos, and it is up to her to decide if she's going to give it to me or not. Before, that's one of the hated things. That's one of the things that I hated. Why is it that for others, it's okay for them to take not just 25 cents or kahit anong barya, okay lang, hindi binabalik? Why is my mom so strict that she has to ask me to give back the 25 cents? Siguro, for those who've experienced the same thing, if you've been wondering, there's a lot of realizations that I got from this. When you go to work, when you grow older, yung mga bata-bata pa ngayon, the youth of today, you would eventually realize the value of integrity and the value of honesty. You know when it's not yours and you're not gonna take it. And that's the value also in the community. We say it's inayan. That's the value of inayan in our community. You don't take something that is not yours without permission. And when you do, of course, that's when, sabihin na natin accidental na nakuha, honest acceptance of your mistake is also valuable. So, ano pang sinasabi ni Ma'am na to? Bakit ganito, ganyan yung konsepto ng change na pinag-uusapan natin? Well, in this podcast, we hope that in the future, we would have people or young elders who would want to converse or to have conversation with us on their experience of the 25 centavo change. Because narratives that would come from each and everyone in the community would actually be the collective narratives that would come from the community about the 25 centavo change and your stories. This would give treasure, or this would actually give value to the 25 centavo change even more. So I am not the only one who has a story about this binting. There's a lot of stories as well. Because when I asked online kung ano ba yung mga stories nila on 25 cents, maraming nag-respond. Some of them would say, before, yung lolo daw nila would say this and that, na awang ti binting, kastoy ka siya, idi kanyami, nabanor day ta binting, ado tigatangan na, and all those. See? There's a lot of change, di ba? Idi ko nada. And then today, 25, parang nakikita mo na lang sa naisamento enjoy kalsada niya. And we would also like to metaphorically analyze yung part na yon. Nagbago din yung itsura ng bagong binting ngayon, no? So, but still, the value is the same. The monetary value is the same. But, in saying so, when we're talking about this concept of change, we tend to get different reactions from in every situation. So, sa mga susunod na episodes, I hope that in the comment section of this podcast, masabi din ninyo kung ano yung mga concept of change, or ano yung story ninyo with the 25 centavo change, or the things that you hated and now you love to share, or how do you perceive yung gain from loss. I would love to leave you with the following questions. First, sana sagutin ninyo in the comment section. Sana may mga sumagot. What are the things that you hated, but now you hated before, but now you love to share? And second, how do you gain from loss? If you have an experience of loss, Can you share with us kung paano nga ba kayo natuto doon sa loss na yon? And third question is, share with us a narrative or a story of 25 centavo coin. So share with us your story on the comment section, and we will be talking more about this in the next episodes. So this has been your host for 25 Centavo Change Podcast. This is MJ here at Taraki TV. Until the next episode. Bye!